The At Your End Step podcast is brought to you by Comic Town. Check them out at www.comictown.net and search for Comic Town Gaming Center on Facebook. Hello, and welcome to At Your End Step. My name is Morgan, and I'm here with Mike.
Wimmy Wim Wim Wazzle.
And Dave.
I got nothing to follow that up.
That's a hard follow-up to have,
Drink
in all
Slurm.
honesty. What?
Drink Slurm.
Drink Slurm. Hey, we're not sponsored by Slurm. You can't just, throw out advertising and all that jazz. Just saying.
Slurm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we have another fun-filled episode with you guys. You guys are here. Yeah, in spirit, maybe? For you guys. Probably better. We have a bunch of community topics, actually. Normally, there's just nothing, but we actually have a lot of things to talk about.
Usually we just got to make stuff up.
Usually we're grasping at straws and just I don't know. There's this thing that people talked about on Twitter. Is this worthy?
Yeah, that makes it sound professional. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to make something up. How would we call somebody a name on Twitter and see what happens?
let's actually create the community topic by picking on someone. Sure.
It's like a Mad Lib. Blank player says that blank race is blank at the game of Magic. Oh man, did you see all the hate?
Yeah, we actually have some sweet topics. So that's actually pretty good. And we have the SCG Cleveland that happened over the weekend that none of us went to. Literally 2 hours away. No one went.
Wait, that was Cleveland, Ohio?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Yes, it was. I wish I knew other places Cleveland's were, or if there is only one Cleveland. You should know this, Mike. You literally have a shirt that says Cleveland on it.
All I can think of right now is Poops, bro.
No, we're not going back there. What else do we got, Morgan?
And then we have a question of the week, and then our weekly wrap-up that we'll go into there last. So let's get a good start and move into the community topics. So over last week, there was announced a Judge Hall of Fame. So this is actually pretty awesome. Basically, they're going to go through and start, obviously, with senior members of judging staff, but basically pulling out people that have made the tournament scene, the experience the best, and they have sort of some qualifiers here, which are impacted by pictures of Magic cards next to them, of fairness, impact, and community. First of all, the first one for fairness is balance. Balance has never been a fair card for anyone.
Never once.
Yeah, that's about
never once.
one.
Bad example. And we also have dedication and mentorship. So these are sort of the golden standards. They're looking at these judges on to be inducted into the Judge Hall of Fame. And then we actually have a notable judge that has been inducted from the Midwest area, which is Mike Guptill. And then Sheldon Menery, also very well known, was also inducted in this inaugural class. So what do you guys think about this?
Okay, this is going to sound terrible. I guess my first thought was unnecessary. Now, let me explain this. I don't mean it's unnecessary to induct these people, but I don't understand why you'd have a separate Hall of Fame. Do any of the Hall of Fames do this? You can be inducted as a coach, inducted as an owner, inducted as a ref. I don't understand why you'd be here's the Magic Hall of Fame and here's the Judge Hall of Fame. Well, why doesn't the Magic Hall of Fame include judges? It just seems like a really weird dichotomy to me. Some 10 years down the road, they'll be they'll quietly have an Arcana article about how they streamlined these two things because it was stupid in the first place. You see what I mean? It's just the Magic Hall of Fame now. Just saying.
We fixed the glitch.
Yeah, I was going to say that same thing. I mean, I think it's cool that these judges are being recognized.
Oh, by all means, yes.
And I mean, we've talked about it in the past about how there's so many contributors that make Magic what it is today. I mean, even if you're not a prominent player, I mean, you could be a good writer or even like Richard Garfield, who created the game.
I don't think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, so it's like
What have you done for me lately, Richard?
I think it makes it would make more sense just to have a Magic the Gathering Hall of Fame instead of having a separate Pro Tour Hall of Fame and then a Judge Hall of Fame and then whatever else comes down the line. So hopefully they do kind of merge that together in the future. But again, I mean, don't want to take anything away from the judges that are being inducted here. It's pretty cool.
So, and they always get to judge Pro Tours now, right? Like they can judge any Pro Tour they want.
You get free plane tickets.
Is that not how this works?
Actually, did they announce anything that they do get positively?
I hope it's like a Chandra pin.
Because I don't know if there's anything that sort of goes along with this as far as that is concerned. But I think that is kind of why
There will also be a unique item of memorabilia issued to each member. For more details, check back in July when the 2008 class is inducted.
It's like, you're going to get something, but you're going to have to wait a couple months. You don't know what it is yet.
And so, like, that would be my argument as to why that they didn't just... Basically, what they would have to do is reconstruct the Hall of Fame. So you would have to have just a Magic Hall of Fame, and it would cause, basically everything would have to change, because obviously the Pro Tour Hall of Fame has a bunch of other things that go along with it when you do get inducted, while this has a nice trinket, apparently, that you receive.
A shiny bauble.
Maybe even Mishra's. Who knows?
Or Urza's.
Oh, it could be Urza's.
Or a squeeze toy.
Maybe. Squeeze toy.
Not a squeeze toy. It's squeeze toy.
Correct.
If you don't know the difference between what I'm saying, go look it up. Get brushed up on your Magic lore.
Is that in Tempest Remastered?
I highly doubt that card made the
It's in
cut.
that block.
What is it?
Hint.
Tap, prevent 1 damage to a creature or something like that? Which,
I think so.
I don't even know how a toy does that. Like,
Well, whatever.
Don't kill me.
It's de-stresses him, that's all. So I can't imagine them doing this at some point in time where they're just like, we just have Magic Hall of Fame. If you're inducted as a player, you get this. If you're inducted as a judge, you get this. But it's just like, I don't know if they really wanted to go through all the hassle of doing that.
I mean, I don't think it'd really be a hassle, to be honest with you. I mean, I think you could be inducted for any number of reasons. And I think the people that get inducted for being a player or being, part of the Pro Tour, or being, a Pro Tour Hall of Famer, like, people are going to know why you were inducted, you know what I mean? Now, I'm sure there are people maybe in the future that could be inducted for both. I can't really think of any off the top of my head. But a player like Melissa DeTora, I know, was a longtime Pro Tour player who was also a judge. I don't know if she judged any like really high level tournaments or anything like that, but just that's the example that popped into my head there.
Right.
But in any case, I mean, I like it.
Yeah, I think it's good, and it's interesting to see other members of the Magic community get honored, not for just playing, but but still contributing. And I think that is important to note these people that do allow our tournaments to run and to function properly as they should. And it'll be interesting to see what happens if there are more more Hall of Fames that get sort of sprouted up. I'd like to put forward a podcaster Hall of Fame if anyone wants to start that. By saying that I want that started, we are automatically the first people inducted.
so, I mean, person who says, the most, award goes to Morgan McCarthy.
Probably me. That's fine.
Person to most likely blank out mid-podcast. Oh, wait. Never mind. He's not here anyways.
Disqualified for quitting.
Apparently I say like a lot, so I kind of get the like Lord.
Like a lot.
The like a lot award.
Oh, man. All these are great awards that we could all earn if this was, a thing. So podcasting, Magic, Podcasting Hall of Fame, let's do it. Moving on. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the July and August F&M promos. Obviously, this is a pretty easy topic to knock out. The July promo is going to be Path to Exile, and the August promo is going to be another modern staple. That's pretty exciting. It's awesome to see like another printing of Path to Exile because it's still a relatively expensive card, even being printed kind of a lot. And it's awesome to see them kind of go back and take a look at Modern and be like, hey, we have Modern Masters 2015 coming out. Let's go ahead and like charge the crowd a little bit more by printing these awesome promos. I really like the art on this promo as well. But the real mystery is what the August one is going to be. Now they've never. I don't know if we kind of discussed this in the chat that we have for the show. But we don't think that they've ever like double printed FNM promos, at least not recently.
Yeah, I don't think they've ever done one card twice.
Right.
As an FNM. I know Path to Exile was
a WPN
promo before, which had really sweet art. But yeah, I don't think they've ever. And they have a lot of modern staple uncommons that have been FNM promos, so it kind of really narrows it down, I think, to what it could be.
Sure. Mike, you seem to have a certain look on your face as if you know the whole entire world.
No, I got the stupid fan noise to go away on my laptop, so I can't keep it 10 feet away from the microphone. I'm sorry. If you ever heard a zzz sound, that's my computer.
If you've ever heard what seemingly is something trying to lift off into the stratosphere,
that's Mike's drone that's flying around the room.
It's BB-8.
Yeah, exactly. But
in all seriousness, no, I think I'm glad to see this, especially with how bad the next few months of FNM promos are. Like,
yeah, Frostwalker.
Like, Avzan Beastmaster is like a borderline sideboardable card, right? But like,
where?
I mean, like, the effect has been a sideboardable card.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like,
as an enchantment.
As an enchantment. Like, generally, things that are enchantments that are also on creatures have been okay recently. But
not this?
I don't know. And then, like Frostwalker, like, what? Who? Like, I really hope that, like, just like the last guy was like, I think Frostwalker was the next one. Like, that's your submission? Yeah, that's your submission for June. Yeah, I think so. All right, you're fired. What do you got for July? Path to Exile. Brilliant. And after that?
Let's do it.
And I said, I don't know. I think it depends on what they want to do. It depends. I would say look for something that's really expensive that's not a Modern Masters 2. And then it'll be that.
I have an idea. This is a card that they've never made a promo of. They've never even had a second printing of yet. Inquisition of Kozilek.
That's incorrect. It is in the Modern Event deck as
Really?
a 3 or 4 of.
Something like that.
I'm thinking promos. My bad.
Well, I mean, but its second printing is probably similar. That was a limited run, but with 4 of them in each deck, like it was a fairly significant print run.
Okay, but
got him.
So they've never made a foil printing of second printing of this card.
I'd be fine with a foil.
And we're going back to Zendikar later in the year, so I think it would potentially, if it gets reprinted, in that set, then people can have sweet promos to play. So that's my guess.
I have another theory. My theory is it's going to be Serum Visions. I feel like they have paid so much attention to mechanics in these Modern Masters sets that it'll be really hard for them to support Scry when like Scry is already in Standard. So like I think we might see a Sleight of Hand in Modern Masters 2 and no Scry, and then I could see Serum Visions being the promo.
The problem is they've already done Serum Visions FNM promo.
Oh, just like they've never done Path to Exile as a promo before.
Yeah, we already talked about that. Not as an FNM promo.
It doesn't really matter. They can do it.
No, I don't think they've ever done. I mean, by that logic, they could do Remand.
Yeah, they
or
could.
like any number of.
No,
I'm just saying
they could.
Yeah.
Like what you're positing is they can't, but they definitely can. Like, so what was the promo for the ones that I have? The Rebecca Guay art.
Those are the
WPN. Okay.
Yeah.
Like I don't see in spirit that much of a difference between those two things.
I'm just saying they've never double printed an FNM promo. Now, I'm not saying that they can't or won't, but
kind of saying
it just seems like.
I mean, play
whatever.
it back. It kind of feels like that's what you're saying. Like I don't know. If I had to make a guess, I think it would be Serum Visions.
Yeah.
Just because I could be totally wrong, and they could end up with a bunch of Scry cards in Modern Masters 2. But that seems like an odd mechanic to put in Modern Masters 2 when it's literally in Standard right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what's going to get people excited.
Yeah, I was honestly surprised they didn't reprint Serum Visions. I mean, I guess like
It's
with
Standard right now.
No, you couldn't do it in
baby.
Standard. You couldn't do it in
Oh,
Standard right now.
baby.
But I mean, like you had the dual deck that came out, and like I guess
Wasn't blue.
Yeah, Kiyora's deck was blue.
Oh,
Kiora
you're saying,
versus Elspeth.
Oh, okay, fair. But, yeah, that's fair. They could have done that.
But I guess like flavorfully, it wouldn't have fit Like, because Serum Vision seems...
No, yeah, Serum Visions is a very specific idea.
It's very Mirrodin. So, like, that's probably the issue they have with that card.
Now, I will give you that. Its Mirrodin-ness does give it a chance to show up in Modern Masters, but I just have a hard time seeing Scry show up. Unless they're okay with just, like, random, like, a la Future Sight, like, random mechanics showing up. But they did not do that last time.
No.
I have a hard time thinking they will.
Yeah. It's weird for them to... Unless like, they just have it sprinkled throughout all the colors. So we'll see.
Maybe.
Obviously, there's like a huge mystery around what Modern Masters 2 is.
Have we ever talked this much about what an FNM promo might be?
It's just exciting.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying they've done a good thing.
If it's a modern staple, you know it's going to be sweet. So.
Yeah.
They've done a good thing.
So speaking of modern a lot, there has been a bit more news on Modern Masters 2015. We're pretty close to release on it. I mean, we're almost in May. It releases near the end of May, correct? Yeah.
May
Yeah.
20 something.
Yeah. So we're less than less than a month away, and we have our first news spoiler since Tarmogoyf. No,
Karn.
Tarmogoyf Karn, and Emrakul was the first one. Edge Champion still technically hasn't been confirmed, but we do have art that looks an awful lot like Edge Champion. But
It's Edge Champion.
it's probably Edge Champion.
I'm pretty sure it's actually been referred to as Edge Champion in the promotion.
Oh,
Or,
okay. Fair enough.
You get an Edge Champion playmat.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true. But
Boom, roasted.
Channel Fireball is actually hosting the GP Vegas, and they have a side event playmat for your side events, and it was new art for Vendilion Click, which is going to be a mythic in Modern Masters 2015.
Well, not just any art, it's new art.
Yeah, I said new art.
Based off of the Powerpuff Girls. Apparently.
Yeah, clearly. Yeah, one is red
Blossom,
and one is
Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup.
they're all fairies and they're all different colors. But I mean, I mean, once you saw Tarmogoyf getting spoiled as being in Modern Masters 2015, you kind of had to know that they were going to reprint some other mythics that obviously were still very high. Vendilion Click is still $60 to $70. It makes sense for them to want to put more of those cards into the ecosystem. So it's pretty awesome. Now, the other intriguing thing that's kind of happened is purely a rumor, but a source that has been known to spoil cards early before listed a bunch of potential mythics that were in this set, citing them as being confirmed. Now, some of these they kind of make sense. So you have Ulamog and Kozilek, which makes sense since we already have Emrakul. Also, All Is Dust is in there as well. And then we have things like Splitter Twin being printed as a mythic, which we were all pretty shocked of when it was rumored to be a mythic. And then you have Tezzeret the Seeker as being the other Planeswalker.
I don't really want to talk about this.
Yeah, it's
Like this is either fine or it's absolute garbage, and I don't even want to speculate on this. Like, who cares? Like, that sounds really terrible, but like, if Splitter is a mythic, then I guess we can talk about it then.
Mm-hmm.
But who cares right now? It's MTG Salvation.
Yeah, it's true. But I mean, a lot of people like that's how they get their spoilers. So we just want to let everyone know that those are out there, but they are unconfirmed. And definitely be wary of them and try not to let them impact your financial decisions that you make with your cards, because it's just not factual at this point in time. So just be wary of those ones. But there's only been 4 confirmed, 5 if you count as champion. But yeah, so just care about those ones right now. Next up, we actually have the Standard Super League that started tonight when we were recording. And it's sort of a takeoff of the Vintage Super League that Wizards was doing via Twitch, and having a bunch of well-known competitive Magic players get together and play a weekly 8-man tournament. Every week they're going to have a new standard deck and stuff like that. So awesome names that are showing up. You have Jerry Thompson, Paul Cheon, Josh Utter-Layton. So plenty of everyone in the bracket is definitely a high level Magic player, and definitely worth taking a look at and seeing some interesting standard decks get play.
Do you want me to go through the whole roster?
Sure.
All right, we got Brad Nelson, Brian Kibler, Josh Utter-Layton, Jerry Thompson, Owen Turtenwald, Paul Cheon, Tom Ross, and Andrew Cuneo.
That's a name I'm really actually excited to see on that list because like this guy's sort of unsung. Like great deck builder. Other people tend to do better with the decks that he hands them, but solid. Glad to see him on this list.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting, and it's awesome to have like just more Magic coverage that happens throughout the week that is like Wizards supported.
Except for Randy Bueller's on it. So
I mean, nothing's
Have
perfect.
LSV. We have LSV.
Yeah.
Super Standard League with Uncle Randy.
I mean, it's better than nothing. And it's awesome to see people like be forced to be innovative with Standard. Like we were watching a little bit of it today, and like Joshua Layton was playing an Esper Mentor deck, which is a modern deck that's picking up steam. But it was interesting to see it in Standard. And they, like I said, they have to kind of switch off decks. And Jerry Thompson's playing, so we obviously know that he is a pretty good tweaker of decks. So it'll be interesting to see like what changes he makes to the decks that he brings and things like that. But yeah, you guys have anything else to talk about the Super Standard Series or League?
I'll be a lot more interested in this one, though I don't know how much I'll watch it since it's on the same night that we podcast.
That's rough for us. We can watch archives. We can go back.
They put them up pretty quickly. At least they did for the vintage ones. So.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't watch a lot of video, so.
Yeah, and like it sucks because I would watch it on my phone or on my tablet, but you can't watch archives on those apps. So Twitch, get that fixed.
They put them on YouTube though.
That's
quickly,
true.
So
okay, well then I'll watch them on there.
Yeah, there you go.
I probably still won't.
It's all right. No one's forcing you to.
I'm just saying. I'm speaking for the person who doesn't care.
Okay, sure. Moving on. So the last community topic that we have is there was a follow-up article posted by Halim Bergeau, which kind of gave us some more information about how the regional PTQs went over the weekend, and kind of gave us some solid numbers on attendance and things like that. And I think it's fairly interesting to take a look and see like how many people actually showed up. Now I know tomorrow there's going to be deck lists from these posted as well on the mothership. So you have to come back then and take a look at that. But
so by the time this goes up, you can go to the mothership and check out the deck list.
Yeah, and then we'll probably talk about them next week.
They're there right now. Not like right now when I'm talking, but right now when you're listening to this.
I think they understood.
Okay, just had to make it clear.
So I guess what people were thinking kind of came true, where you had tournaments in Utah and you had tournaments in New Mexico that weren't very densely populated with Magic players, while the tournaments in Chicago or in the Northeast area were full of people, as it turns out. Also, the other interesting thing is to look at is the California regional PTQs, because those also have sub 40 people attending them as well. But it's interesting to take a look and see, the numbers and everything like that, and kind of maybe even, plan around what area you might want to attend your next RPTQ if you're queued. Obviously, in the Midwest area, we're at a disadvantage. There are a lot of good players around here that can easily drive to Chicago/Indianapolis, and
Could go to Connecticut.
you could go to Connecticut.
It was a thought, not gonna lie.
It's not surprising.
Free room and board for a free tournament, or drive a million hours to go to Connecticut and try to pull a Michael J. Like, that's what we're trying to do here.
I mean, so it depends on what you're trying to do. Obviously, Flores has been very vocal about trying to do what he wants to do is queue for the Pro Tour, and he did what he had to do so. And going to a more sparsely populated RPTQ makes sense. But yeah, some of these numbers are pretty surprising, though.
See, they're not.
Well, I mean, to some people,
I think that's the important thing, because everyone I talked to a bunch of people this evening. I went to the local store. And they said the same thing. They thought these numbers were surprising. But they're actually not surprising. They're actually in line with Wizards' expectations.
Yeah, it was 90%.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Halim Rizzo said that 90% of those qualified attended. So these numbers are accurate. Now, these numbers still may change because it's not going to be the same cities and the same stores hosting these RPTQs every time, obviously. But it sounds shocking, but I don't think it is. I think this is in line with their expectations, and this is probably, if they're giving us all these numbers, probably viewing it as a success.
Yeah.
So to follow up from last week when we talked about this, right, and about like, I guess none of us really attended one of these, so I guess it's hard to say, but like with the average attendance being like 50 to 60 people, like it still doesn't feel like a PTQ to me.
Nope.
It just feels like an FNM. I mean, given the level of competition is,
FNM,
yeah, the level of competition is going to be way higher than your average FNM, but still, I mean, you look at some of these numbers, like 33 people for Vancouver or 33 people for Santa Clara. It's like, I don't know, like it just feels weird.
I don't disagree with that. Like, it does feel weird. But I mean, only 2 tournaments in the entire world hit the top 8 mark, where like you hit over enough rounds to trigger it, so the top 8 all gets qualified, and that was Rome, and it was Japan or Tokyo, Japan as well.
It's really too bad for Dan Musser.
Who definitely top 8'd in Chicago, and that was it. Failed to win, and then like he took 9th in an event at Sunday at the Open as well.
Right.
Yeah. he got the old nut punch like we talked about last week.
It was like that for a lot of people. He messed up like that, and then like our friend Bobby Colgrove took 9th place in an event, and then of course the master Riley Curran took 65th in the Open.
Oh man, just the daggers.
Not to be outdone.
Oh no!
Finishing 65th.
Oh no!
Now, I do think it's interesting that they end the tournaments once you get to this point, though. Like, I heard people were asking, like, hey, did Flores win the whole thing? Yes and no. The tournament ends at top 4. And if you get to a top 8 one, the tournament ends at top 8. It even says so in the instructions. Like, you're not playing it out. There's not really additional prize. You know what I mean? Like, these are free tournaments. So that's that. So I thought that was sort of interesting. It's like, that would feel really anticlimactic. Welcome to the top 4. Tournament over. Like, what?
Congratulations.
Huh? We're not playing for... Oh, nothing. Okay, cool. I'll see you at the Pro Tour. So it's sort of strange.
Yeah. I was, I was going through and looking for feedback on this from actual players that attended, and Eric Klug, famous Ultras, posted some things, and he was actually pretty positive on it. His ending of he posted a big article, big post on Facebook, but he kind of ends it and says the tournament may have not gone the way that he wanted this afternoon, but ultimately Magic is more fun than ever before. I'm really happy I was able to participate in these early stages of the PPTQ, RPTQ system, now to qualify for the next set. So he seemed to be pretty okay with how the system is working. But I thought it was kind of interesting. I also captured Dan Musser's tweet that said the RPTQ is the worst tournament I've ever played in. But that's probably more close to
salt.
Yeah.
Salt.
his salty feelings. And then of course the craziness that we'll probably just go right into next, which is Flores's success at his regional PTQ with the deck that he and had been sort of talking about beforehand on Top Level Podcast. The Mono Blue Dragons list.
Mono Blue 5-color dragons.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, you figured that one out.
Now
we'll tell you about it.
Yeah, he of course has written an article on TCG Player about this deck, and so you could really, if you want to dive deep into things that he has written, it is up there. But this list basically runs 8 Dragonlands. So you have the Crucible of the Spear Dragon as well as the Haven of the Spear Dragon. And you just splash a bunch of Dragon Lords in your Mono Blue deck.
This is what happens when you don't make those lands legendary.
Correct.
Just jam 8 of them.
Yeah, and maybe this is what they wanted. Who knows? But the tournament write-up is pretty interesting, and there's been a lot of just talk about this deck and how quote-unquote good it is. And we're a bit more skeptical at this point in time. I don't know, Mike, you seem to be giving me a face.
The article is interesting. The article starts off with saying, you you may have already seen, and if the numbers are any indication, probably favorited this tweet. I can't do it. I can't. It hurts me so bad that he now has a reason to eat. Like, before it was just like ego for pretty much no reason anymore. Now it's like, well, I did this. And it's like, no. There's like 900 names in this article. Did you know he knows these people? I didn't know he knew all these people. And yes, I did. Because I read another Flores article once in my life. Sorry, I just,
Let's not let personal disdain over the writer influence what we think about the deck.
Oh, I don't like the deck either.
Okay, well let's discuss that.
But Mike, you're a fan of Silmgar Scorn, right?
Yes, I know that he is a fan.
Imagine
of that.
having double the number of dragons in your deck. Instead of 5, you get 10.
Yeah.
Just always counterspell. Right?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's in the 90s, right? The percentage of having a dragon in your hand. I don't know. I haven't done the math. We'll just say 95. I don't know.
We'll just throw out a number. Hopefully it's correct.
Yeah,
Who knows?
That sounds about right.
It's definitely not 95, but that's okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
That's fine.
Anyway,
You have a 1 in 6 chance of seeing a dragon, like 1 in 6 cards is a dragon. So like in an
opening hand.
so
7. I don't know.
it's not new in your 90%.
I'm not. Yeah. It sounds good.
Your deck would actually be like 52 dragons to get to 90%.
I don't
So-
care. It sounds good.
You say you don't like the deck. Is there a particular reason?
Very honest. Reading the report, he had a real issue with the aggro decks, and he had an interesting board plan, but it definitely seemed like one of his opponents kept a 1-lander and wasn't able to, and couldn't get there. He lost, a bunch of game 1s really, without even trying. And he's even playing main deck in Case and Ice, which, take that as you will. He's got a bunch of 8 colorless lands, and he's trying to cast 8 double blue counter spells I'm sorry, I guess 6 because
6,
yeah.
Yeah.
But 6 double blue counter spells on turn 2 that he has to hit if he's going to beat the red decks. I do not doubt that this is a pretty good counter for Esper Dragons. That doesn't surprise me at all. The Esper Dragons matchup always devolves into draw go for a long time, and if your draw go involves end of turn add a charge counter to your Haven or to your Crucible, that would likely make you a favorite because you don't have to fight with your mana anymore. That's a big deal. But I don't see how in this world this beats a card that goes under it. You know what I mean? If they result, I'm just I would like to see how this plays out against tokens even. Unless they have a Perilous Vault, they just die. They're just going to die, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I think, and again, I'm not going to sit here and say oh, he got really lucky, but I do think he ran very well in the Swiss to do well, and he did it in a 6-round tournament. Let's see what this deck does. I'm not going to throw it away. I'm not going to totally dismiss the deck. That's not fair. But Jerry Thompson mentioned today that he didn't think this deck was, he said the same thing. He's not ready to dismiss it, but at the same time, he doesn't think it's going to really affect the metagame the way that sort of Flores has implied that it will shake up the metagame. Because I think it just, in the grand scheme of things, it's so heavily metagamed that it just will crumble. This deck just doesn't have game against too much of the format.
I mean, this is a great call for something like an RPTQ, though, because it just literally came out of nowhere.
But it even wasn't. He played against Esper Dragons in the top 8. He literally, he's one bad turn away from not even getting to play against Esper Dragons ever because of how bad the red matchup is. It's, I don't know. He's counting heavily on Omen Speakers and Master the Waves out of the board, and had to he made one of his games he had Mole aggressively to 5 and hit the Omen Speaker Master Waves hand, which is you know what I mean? It's okay, I hope you can do this every time. You have no interaction. I don't know. This on paper this looks miserable there. Now, if you'll recall, I said this about a certain mono blue deck in the past, right? But at least that deck was attacking.
It was aggressive.
You know what I mean? I don't see how this deck beats aggressive decks consistently.
Mm-hmm.
And he has main deck like I said in Case and Ices. What if the aggro deck is Black White Warriors? You know what I mean? Which is and sitting at an RPTQ, we're talking about these being FNMs. You're likely to see it. Then you're just looking at that card going, huh? Well, that's awkward. So I don't know. What do you think here, Dave?
I mean, it looks like a lot of fun.
Does it?
10 dragons, man. Plus an Ugin.
I will say the line that he kept talking about where he got to like take his Crucible up to 12 so he could cast Dragonlord Dromoka and then immediately cast Dragonlord Silumgar to kill people out of nowhere, like taking Planeswalkers through he said he took an Ugin that way, like that he knew his opponent had counter backup, but it didn't matter because he could play Dromoka first, which I thought was sort of interesting. Because it can't be countered, and your opponent can't play spells on your turn. So then, essentially, you can just black them out for a turn, and it gets a little interesting. But I don't know. I just don't see this deck having game against enough of the format. I don't see this deck. I don't see this deck consistently beating Abzan aggro either. Like I don't understand how.
Yeah, I don't get that one.
I don't think he had to play against Abzan aggro. So.
Oh no, I don't think so. He played against Temur. Temur was actually pretty.
He played against Temur multiple times.
Yeah,
right?
It was really well represented in the
Tarka Red Heroic, which is not a deck anymore. Temur.
I think he played Temur twice.
And then top 8 Esper Dragons. Because then he was 4-1-1. So those are the 4 things he beats, and then he loses and he draws.
I think he lost round 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Temur twice.
Now to be fair, we've had discussions previous to say that Temur might have also been a good foil to Esper Dragon. So it's not necessarily surprising to see Temur show up.
He said his version, the Temur he played against, if they had Roasts and Draconic Roars, that's not a list that's built to beat Esper.
No, probably not.
So,
probably not.
It says right here that my opponent's Temur list was actually terrible against Esper Dragons. That's what it says in the article. Interesting. Okay.
Oh, all right. Yep, not cards you want against that matchup.
So here's another thing that's interesting to me, and I don't know how you quantify this, but he mentions here, he's so another Temur, 3 red aggro and 2 Temur, what weird pairings. Pacula at this point had played against mostly green-black based decks. Your sideboard must be really good, quote unquote, Pro Tour top 8 competitor Aaron Muranaka after my first 4 rounds, because why not quote another random person? But additionally, this is maybe it's not weird pairings. Esper Dragons actually hasn't made that huge of an impact in the States yet. It was all in Europe for the Pro Tour and the GP. Maybe you actually. It did well at the Open this weekend.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that.
But I am saying that you flew out of your way to a different tournament. You have no idea what the local metagame will be. We talked about this at the PPTQs, right? Yes, they should be more competitive, but you're telling me that Pacula's playing against Abzan all day, and he's playing against Temur all day. You know what I mean? This would argue against playing the hyper, the hyper metagame deck. I don't know. I don't know how this. I want to see if this deck ever puts up a deck puts up one in the Open. Let's see if it does that across the huge broad spectrum here. But
yeah, I'm in agreement with you that I think that I don't think this is going to hugely influence the metagame. I think it's a deck. I think people will play it at FNMs and stuff like that because it looks like a lot of fun.
It is the extreme dragon deck,
right? Yeah, this is
furthest you could take this.
Yeah, this is the all-in dragons deck. But that's cool. I mean, you got to give Flores style points for qualifying for the Pro Tour with this.
Fair enough.
So, but yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, and also important to note, Michael Jacob actually qualified for the Pro Tour again. So.
He just played a regular Dragons.
So are they gonna make their own super team, call themselves M&Ms?
Clearly, that's the goal.
And then we can get the inevitable article where Michael J. Flores is so I called up Patrick Chapin, who of course is good friends with Brad Nelson, and Brad Nelson in turn called up Brian Braun-Duin, who of course is great friends with Chris Van Meter. Chris Van Meter flew across the world to Denver to talk with Luis Scott Vargas, who in turn talked to.
Wait, when you say flew across the world, he flew from Virginia across the Atlantic all the way across
on a dragon.
Yeah.
Okay. Who in turn talked to Eric Froelich, who couldn't be bothered because he's in the World Poker, or he was on the he's playing poker right now. And did you know he's a great poker player? We're really good friends. He's given me some of his poker winnings before.
He let me wear his bracelet once.
That's the tournament report.
It's literally
something about finding the last unicorn. There's a T-Rex.
Something about the Covenant of the Ark. I don't know.
And then he wins the Pro Tour, and this Mike, shoots himself.
Yeah. I just wish, I agree with you, the name dropping is a bit much. But I'm okay. I know MJ, like some people don't like him, some people like him. I really enjoyed watching his streams when he did it consistently, so I'm okay with him being back.
I mean, I did his writing exercises when he did that for a while. Like I don't think the guy doesn't have things to contribute. You know what I mean? I think a lot of his stuff is really out there, but sometimes that's what you need if you're looking at this list. But I get really tired of that. Like,
Wait, which MJ were you talking about? Are you
Jacob.
talking about Flores?
I'm talking about Flores.
No, I'm talking about Michael
He's talking
Jacob.
about
I know he is, but I just want to. I'm ranting about the guy, and I want
Okay.
to take it. So
I thought you were done.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. To my original point, I met Ernie Hudson once, so suck it.
Yeah, take that. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about something else here. Let's pull up Star City Games Cleveland. It was the standard tournament was the 20K, and it was taken down by one Ross Miriam playing Bant Heroic. He was able to defeat his Red Green Dragons opponent. His opponent, I'm going to pull up his name here real quick, but first open, all right, and yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
your excuse.
Brad Fallon. I'm not good at Magic. We've discussed this. Brad Fallon first open and arrives to end his Sunday in the finals against Ross Miriam. And yeah, that's a pretty good run. So hats off to you, Brad.
With a deck that has had a lot of bad matchups in the top 8, managed to navigate it. This is pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, most certainly. Like Red Green Dragons had sort of fallen off, basically. It had proven really strong, and then once Esper Dragons sort of became a thing, I don't know, that did not seem like a good matchup.
Ojitai reigns supreme.
Yeah, it's I definitely would not necessarily want to be continuing to play this deck, especially with the sort of the technology that has come out. That came out really strongly in Cleveland, which was the Den Protector plus Deathmist Raptor technology that a lot of people had employed in Bant as well as Abzan to battle the Esper Dragons list. But we do see it as Esper Dragons as being something that did show up pretty healthily within the top 32 deck lists, as well as Bant midrange and many versions of Abzan as well.
There were 21 total copies of Esper Dragons in day 2.
That is many copies.
The most played archetype on day 2.
That's pretty impressive.
To get into day 2.
That's pretty impressive. Now, we also have some other notables in the top 8, which we would be remiss to talk about. We have Kyle Bogmans, notable Pro Tour player as of recent, right?
Yeah, he finished 9th at the last Pro Tour.
Right. And then Gerard Fabiano, a crowd favorite.
That guy.
And we also have Kenta Hiroki, who you might know if you've played in the recent tournaments in the Midwest area. He's a pretty well-known grinder around here. So we definitely know that name.
Hey. Shout out to Connor Bowman.
Oh, yeah.
Columbus local, moved away for a little bit. But guys put up some solid results. He top 8 in one of the TCG 5Ks that we were at, or at least I was at a couple months ago, and good to see him put up a pretty strong result here.
Yeah, most certainly. And he was playing a list similar to Chase Harrell's list.
Yes,
that we know
this
locally,
collected company
Abzan.
shenanigans.
Yeah, I don't like it. He beat me at FNM. I wasn't a fan, Chase. I'm not a fan. But yeah, I mean, this top 8 is fairly interesting to take a look at, and in all honesty, like you have some lists that kind of show up out of nowhere, like Bant Heroic kind of showing up again. I wasn't really expecting to see that deck be very prominent.
Yeah, I was really surprised to see that he beat Fabiano.
Yeah,
if you take a look at Fabiano's list, like you know that he's not just going to be playing a stock Esper Dragons list.
Oh no.
Oh, there's some number of Ashiok's.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, which in all honesty is probably correct at this point in time.
But in addition to Ashioks, he's playing 3 self-inflicted wounds in the board. How do you lose to Heroic when you board up to what? 6 sacrifice effects?
Yeah. Well, so game 1, it kind of devolved. Like him not winning game 1 probably is what set the whole thing in motion. Typically, that's what you want to do, but he didn't win game 1. Game 2 was pretty masterful, in all honesty. If you go back to watch the archives, I would definitely encourage you guys to watch game 1 and game 2 of this matchup. Game 3, he mulliganed to 5.
Yeah.
And had some.
Because Ross Merriam said in his open profile that he thought that like Ban Heroic was like a good matchup against Esper, and I was like, I don't see it. Like I played in the matchup, they're playing so many sack effects. Like I haven't seen it. I haven't felt that way.
I mean, honestly, both of those guys, both Merriam and Fabiano, have kind of been on fire lately.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure he knows what he's talking about.
But I'm sure Fabiano would say it's a good matchup for him too. So like, which one's posturing here? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would assume that Esper would be favored, but I haven't played the matchup or seen it.
I mean,
so.
I feel like there's so many like super average cards for the for the Bant player. Now, don't get me wrong, you have counterspells aren't that effective against them, but 2-man counterspells are still fairly effective against that deck, and they end up playing things like 4 Dromoka's commands right now, which like do nothing against them, and also like Ordeal of Heliod, which also does nothing. Like except for like get a counter on your guy, which sometimes that's all you want, but it just doesn't feel great. But I was really surprised and really impressed to see him navigate that. I wasn't surprised to see him beat Dragons because I feel like that's a pretty arbitrary match.
Awful.
Like,
it is awful. There is video evidence of me beating it though, which is awesome. But it is typically an awful matchup. Now, when you do take a look at Miriam's list, though, you do see Monastery Mentor, which has been fairly popular in these lists, and I think that helps a lot with the sacrifice effects. You also see Laguna Band Trailblazer, which is another early creature that you can play to sort of negate it. And then in the sideboard, we see Disdainful Strokes and Stubborn Denial along with Treasure Cruise, which I think allows this deck to go have a better late game than typical.
No, I don't disagree. Like I don't think it's like a slam dunk by any means, but I was just surprised to see him think he was so heavily favored, and then really surprised. Like I think against a stock Esper list, like his version might be able to get there consistently, but to see him like 3 self-inflicted wounds just seems like that would make that matchup a cakewalk.
Yeah, you would think.
You know what I mean? So it's just like obviously you have to be in border games, and a mold of 5 is awkward, but I would really think like. I would want to see play 10 sideboard games, see what happens here, because I have to feel like self-inflicted wound is just backbreaking.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, having earlier access to removal and specifically, I guess it's not really targeted, sacrifice because most other creatures are white.
Well, I guess there is a counterbalance here though. Fabiano also played no ultimate prices in the main.
Yeah,
which is a big deal because very quickly your bio blights become like
irrelevant.
Yeah, in that matchup.
Yeah,
so there's some trade off here. There's some trade off.
You definitely saw that in the games they played where Fabiano just had these gross bio blights, and you're just like, yeah, that's not really the card you want.
No.
But they were very exciting games between him and Ross Merriam. At least the first 2 were should be watched. The third one is a little less exciting, but I think that they definitely played their best.
I thought it was a fairly diverse open. Yeah, you do start to see sort of that green engine coming on. As I've already said, I've not been. Let me say it's a very, very good interaction. It's very powerful, but I've also been not that impressed with it. Like as the Esper player, like it still doesn't. Like against blue-black, I could see that engine being absolutely backbreaking. But it's still just like there's multiple games where they're like, Master the Unseen, and then play a Morph guy, and I'm like, cool. And then I'm like, kill your guy, play Ojutai. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to start chaining guys back. And I'm like, well, you're going to have to spend a whole turn getting 5 power back on the board. I'm going to attack you for 5 and draw a card. And it's just like, that's what the matchup keeps coming down to. And then that's it. Like, they have to be, like, the only matches I've actively lost are ones where they have hit, like they've hit a ton of creatures off Master of the Unseen. Like I haven't been able to put it away quick enough, and then they gain life. Because the life gain is what's actually the relevant thing, not so much the value. Like, because Ugin consistently comes down and cleans up as well. So it's really good, but it's so grindy that I don't know if it actually is that well positioned against with the control that's in the format right now. If the control in the format was all blue-black, then you could just play a couple ways to kill a Perilous Vault, and that match would probably be just a hilarious cakewalk. You know what I mean? But against something that has the clock like Esper does, not to mention the fact that if you ever curve Ojutai into Drifting Death, and you get to just start killing all of their morphs and manifests every turn, it gets pretty messy. So
yeah.
It's just, I don't know. I would definitely say if you're leaning towards these green lists, I've liked the Abzan ones a little bit more. because they're playing like things like Siege Rhino and some solid like Abzan Charms to draw cards in addition to this engine. But like the banned versions, especially the ones that have been foregoing Ojutai for some reason, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're trying to do. I don't think it's that good though.
You play that combo in banned, so you can play Ojutai because it's a really good card, as it turns out. Now, we did talk about this a little bit. If this was something that we wanted to potentially work against, as well as working against the mirror match, there is a potential to discuss Dissipate over Dissolve in the main deck.
We talked about that on Friday, and I thought that might be interesting. Though I've read 3 articles today alone I was looking at where everyone said that they have all now tried Risen Executioner, and they all thought it was awful. So maybe it's not as relevant. But I was talking about how maybe you're only playing a couple Dissolves anyways, so it might be the Scry is really good, but exiling like an Ojutai when you counter it, when they have a Haven of Spirit Dragon in play, is like fairly relevant. So I thought that was at least an interesting interaction, something to consider. And I know if you're playing Blue-Black Control, you have X number of Dissipates anyways, so I'm sure they've already been good.
Yeah, and it'll be kind of interesting to see what kind of iterations go on and what kind of minor changes happen when we start getting more and more inbred in as far as the metagame goes.
I think we'll have a good idea after this weekend.
I think so, yeah.
We'll see.
You have an interesting deck pulled up there.
I do. I'm sorry. So I was trying to look at the different Megamorph decks that were existing and trying to see which ones were not, Bant or Abzan. And there's a green-black Megamorph list in 20th place. This is Andrew Norgren. Has some interesting cards. Specifically, there's an Unmake the Graves in the deck, which is like raise dead twice with Convoke. So it's like return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. It costs a black and 4 colorless and Convokes. It's an instant though, which is the interesting thing. You could definitely play the Hornet Queen that's in the deck and then Convoke all your insects and get a bunch of guys back.
Woo!
I guess as a value card,
Pew, pew, pew.
it's interesting. And he did fairly well, but I'm just I just opened this list just to see, and I was just like, wait, what's this? What's this? He's also got a Windstorm on the board? Man, does that kill dragons?
Yes, it does.
Can that kill Silumgar?
It certainly can.
The Drifting Death can't drift when the wind's blowing him down.
It's kind of a nombo. It kills your bees, but imagine maybe you just side those
he
out.
only has 1 Hornet Queen, so I think he's okay there. But this is an interesting list, definitely. Also playing a Merciless Executioner in the main, which I can say I've seen Merciless Executioner do some work recently, mostly out of that Collected Company deck.
Yes.
But it's interesting, So I don't know. It just seems that he did pretty well for himself and has some interesting cards here. Dave's given the old the look that I gave to the Flores list. He's giving this one the look.
1 Radiant Fountain. I don't know.
Yeah, the numbers are weird.
In a deck with a Mana Confluence.
You gotta gain some lives back, I guess. I don't know. It's this is a thing.
This is a thing that happened. Hey, we're here to highlight some weird stuff that happened over the weekend. This is one of the weird stuff.
Yep.
Do you remember the first week of the Cons Open and that round that I was still in contention for top 8 and I lost to the guy who kept playing Rescue from the Underworld and he played it 3 times to return Siege Rhinos and I was so angry.
Yeah.
This is the same thing. This guy's just end of turn on Make the Graves. And the guy's like, you're playing Raise Dead? I'm losing to Raise Dead? And the guy's like, yeah, you're losing to Raise Dead.
Yes, correct. All right. Let's go ahead and just touch briefly on the Legacy IQ here. And it was won by Grixis. Grixis Control, which is, I don't know, fairly interesting. Jason Smith was the pilot here, and I'm going to pull up the list just so we can talk about it, mainly because it's not something you necessarily see.
Keller will be real happy to see this.
Oh yeah, because it has a Dak Faden in it.
Deck.
It has Dak Faden. But we see that this is probably a young Pyromancer engine, basically. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you just have some sweet value cards. Tassiger, Legacy play, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this deck seems pretty interesting. It's not something that I can say that I've seen before, but I don't necessarily follow Legacy as closely as some people. So
unfortunately, he beat a guy that we know from this area, Sith, and I apologize, Sith. I'm not going to try and butcher your name on here, but he was a legacy advocate in Columbus, and he's going to school up in Cleveland. So it was nice to see him sort of run through this tournament and do better. Like if you look here, he was playing Miracles, and out of a lot of people playing Miracles in this top 16, he finished the highest, above Joe Lissette, above Dan Musser.
Yeah.
So pretty good run for him.
Yeah.
Good
Also,
job, man.
Adam Johnson also made top 8 from what we can see.
And I was looking at Miracles. And Adam Johnson. Good.
Playing Death and Taxes, so congrats to him as well. Yeah, but if you want an interesting list, also there's the Tesserator list in 11th, so that's got to be awesome, right?
Oh, yeah.
And let's go ahead and move to something that we might know a little bit better. Let's talk about some moderns. Very important, since there is a modern PPTQ hosted by Comic-Con coming up soon. Next week, actually.
Have fun on that.
Yeah.
I might just show up drinking like an oversized pina colada with like an umbrella in it or something.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Thanks. Way to rub it in.
What are the commoners doing today?
The whole thing was won by Assault Control, piloted by Matthew Trickle. This is a fairly interesting list. It turns out you can play Sultai and not have to be Gerard Fabiano to win.
His name's Tickle. There's no R.
Sorry.
Or Takal.
Or Tikal.
Tikal,
excuse me.
maybe.
Sorry, I don't know why I put an R
It's
in there.
not Trickle. Or sorry, Matthew.
I'm sure he's gotten that joke before, but anyway.
No, the joke is never mind. You know what? Never mind.
Anyway, this list is something that we have seen before via Gerard Fabiano. I believe that he played something similar to this, if not the exact list.
Thragtusk and everything.
Yeah. I'm a fan of that card. I'm okay with that card existing and being a thing, even as a one-of. That's fine. In all honesty, I've been kind of worried about what to play for Modern. And this seems like an interesting avenue to potentially go around, but you seem to be shaking your head quite vehemently.
I think you should stick to Jund.
Jund/Junk, Green Black X. I mean, this is another Green Black list. What are your oppositions about this one for our listeners? If you have any, sort of opinions about it.
Oh, I'm just saying for you, like you haven't played this deck,
Sure.
so I think you would be better off playing something that you know.
Okay.
I don't think the deck is bad, I think there could be certain matchups that it's not great against, like probably Affinity, but no,
Sure.
it's got Cryptic Command and Snapcaster Mage, so
Yeah, those are good cards.
I like
from what
those
I hear.
cards. I like those cards personally. But,
Yeah.
We had a green-white trap.
This is Nicholas Montequila, who you guys might recognize him. This guy is he's a cool guy, also a lifter. So the guy has like ridiculous arms. So he sits on for a Magic tournament. He's just like oh. But he won a PTQ a couple seasons back with this exact deck. So he likes his archetype. This trap deck, not that popular, but a cool list nonetheless.
Now, a lot of people might not be familiar with green-white trap. Should we talk about it a little bit, or
Trap.
Basically the list is trying to get Emrakul in play by either playing Summoning Trap or by using Mosswort Bridge or Windswept Heath. Or not Windswept Heath, Windbrisk Heights.
There you go.
Sorry. W. Using one of the hideaway lands or Summoning Trap to get it into play. But it can also just play kind of like an Abzan mid-range type game as well. With plays Lingering Souls and Gavany Township, and can kind of play a normal game as well. So
Noble Hierarchs.
yeah, I mean it's,
into Night of the Reliquary.
Yeah.
Still find a way to attack the format. And if they remand your Night of the Reliquary, so many trap.
yeah, it does play 4 Primeval Titans, so it can get those hideaway lands into play. Even if it's not.
This deck has insane inevitability. Like if you get behind against this deck and they get a Primeval Titan, then like you don't live for much longer. They just do crazy things.
Yeah, and they can get into play super quick as well. I mean, it has 4 birds, 4 hierarchs, plays Lotus Cobra, Knight of the Reliquary.
Nest Invader.
Yeah. That one's a little weird, but this is a deck that was a thing back in the day. I haven't really seen too much of it recently, but yeah, it's pretty cool that it popped up. I mean, that's modern for you. I
You
guess.
see wall references in the board? That's tech I haven't seen in a long time either. That's some old tech. Monty, Monty, it's time to update, buddy. That tech might be a little outdated.
That's probably pretty sweet against burn.
I don't think they can kill it, that's for sure.
No.
We also, we do see burn and affinity show up in some numbers, as well as an abs and aggro list, so the wilt leaf liege sort of list. And then Grixis Twin, which is sort of the flavor of the week of Twin at this point in time. I think that's the
Twin.
Yeah, the more prominent version. No longer Tarmogoyf Twin, the other T creature that we like. Also, Terminate. you just splashing for T's at this point in time.
Like Ermagerd girl, like Ermagerd Termatwern.
And then, as we mentioned, Bobby Colgrove finishing on 9th
Go ahead.
with Abzan Collected Company, or Pod.
Yeah, people ask somebody who's playing. He's like, I'm playing Pod, and they're like, but that's not. No, he's like, it's Pod.
It's basically Pod. In honesty, I would take a look at his list. Bobby played. That's all he played in Modern before it was banned, and if he's playing it, then it might have some merit to be looked at if you still have all those cards for Pod just kind of lying around. Just buy some collected companies, and it's the same thing apparently.
Apparently,
But it's probably a little different. But I mean, when you look at the list, it's not too far off. So yeah. I kind of look at this card. He's definitely playing a Garza's Assassin in the sideboard. So,
Oh man, is that the triple black guy?
yeah,
Triple black human assassin. Sacrifice Garza's Assassin, destroy target non-black creature. Recover, pay half your life. Sweet.
that's not a steep cost at all. Just half of it. Whatever.
You just collected company that bad boy into play.
Oh yeah,
Gotcha.
gotcha.
God, doesn't even come back to your come back to play. It goes back to your hand.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man.
Oh man, this card's sweet. You may have gone too deep, buddy.
Nah, man, it's sold out on Star City. He started a craze.
Oh man, sold out at what?
50 cents.
Oh man, you can foil one for. Oh man, they're out of stock of those too.
I'm pretty sure that's because there were like 5 of these opened in Cold Snap.
It's because that's how many packs of Cold Snap
Yeah,
were opened.
that's it.
It's true. It's true. You're probably not far off. I don't know. Modern seems to not have like very large fluctuations these days. You still see Jund and Junk show up ad nauseum. It showing up again, which is pretty awesome. That's a fun deck. Storm's still around, and then Amulet Bloom, obviously. 2 lists in the top 16, if I'm not mistaken. One of them being Eric Rill. So plenty of stuff. I mean, Affinity, I feel like, has been on a tear as of recent. So
Everyone's just showing up.
I don't know.
Shh.
I don't know what it necessarily is. If I feel like you obviously only have so much room for sideboard cards in what you're playing, and I think a lot of people are preoccupied with burn at this point in time for some reason, and not necessarily dedicating enough hate to Affinity.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think also what we've seen with Modern, I guess more recently, like as we've gotten further and further away from the Pro Tour, because after the Pro Tour we kind of saw everybody kind of jump on, the Abzan decks and things that did well at the Pro Tour. But I think like as we've gone further and further away, you're seeing more and more decks pop up. You're seeing like the random. I mean, Sultai Control wasn't that popular of a deck, and it came out and won this. So I mean, it has the ability to win a tournament like this. And like you said, you see other things like Green-White Trap, you see Ad Nauseum. So the format's kind of being spread out more. So like you kind of have to. You can't really have specialized hate in your board. I mean, you can, but I guess you're like less likely to have specialized hate card for just Affinity. I mean, there are cards that just absolutely destroy it, but it's like, okay, well, how many slots do you want to dedicate to just beating Affinity? There's so many decks that you have to beat. So. And it's not surprising Affinity's always been solid, even when people are packing the hate cards. So
Yeah, I mean, out of most any deck in Modern, it's probably has just the best game 1 potential, right?
Yeah, that and
Storm.
Burn.
Oh, Burn, yeah.
Burn game 1 is like It's pretty tough. Just that's kind of the same thing with Burn. I mean, there are cards that just shut Burn down, but how many slots are you going to dedicate to beating that? So
Just one.
just one.
Iona
Sure.
you.
Iona you. Yeah. Iona shuts that deck down real quick. Real quick.
Kind of come off like a drug PSA. How many cards can you devote to Burn? Just one.
It'll be interesting. I don't want. I have to find. I think Ley Lines of Sanctity, as it seems to be a very popular card in the sideboard of many junk decks. So
It's only like a $50 card. You're good.
I'm hoping that it gets like spoiled
Yeah,
in
that's
Modern
like-
Masters too.
yeah, look it up, man.
What? Yeah, it's super expensive.
Just play Jund, man. Just play Jund.
I could. There's a list that's up here.
Oh, I'm
so
sorry. It's sold out at $33.25. My apologies. Not quite
Oh.
50.
Oh man,
I didn't know that.
yeah. It has been
This
slowly
is where Dave
creeping
says
up.
I have 4, right?
No, this is where I say I don't play weight cards in Modern,
Oh,
but
what an elitist.
but I don't. So
Anyway, so that's pretty much it for competitive. We do obviously have a question of the week, though, so let's kind of go into that. This is kind of something that erupted on Reddit and Twitter over the weekend. And I guess I had always figured that this went on at the Pro Tour. But there was a lot of people that did not know. But it was about scouting. And how, big teams, big names, actually potentially have people come in that aren't queued for the Pro Tour, hire them to do scouting, as well as the scouting that goes on between teams that form and stuff like that. And a lot of people were pretty vocal about on both sides of this as it being a thing, and whether it was sportsmen. Good or bad sportsmanship and stuff like that. So the question really is kind of twofold. Do you think that this gives these larger teams, pros, an unfair advantage? And do we think that it goes against the spirit of competition?
I mean, personally, I'm very much against scalping. I think
Scalping?
I mean,
No,
if
that's
your
not.
opponent can't play Magic,
That's not.
then it definitely goes against.
Do you want to tell him, Dave, or
What?
scouting?
Scout.
yeah.
I thought we were talking about.
We're not talking about.
I watched *Inglourious Bastards* to study.
I'm sorry, but that was a good movie, so you didn't waste your time.
Man,
You can't feel bad about watching a good movie.
go ahead, Dave. I'll rethink my answer then.
So the thing that kind of came out with this that I wasn't really aware of, I guess it's not really surprising after you hear about it, is that they would have spreadsheets. So it wasn't just like scouting and like just word of mouth saying, oh well, this team is on this deck or this team is on this. They actually had like spreadsheets with specific card choices or like sideboard cards maybe that they saw and things like that. And it's like really detailed. It's just like
That's actually consistently been shown to be not the case. All the pros have said that they have spreadsheets. Most of the details involve player archetype and maybe a card that was unique that they saw.
okay. I was
So
just
that-
going
that-
off of this is what the Reddit.
That means
said.
Sproling said this, and PV said this, and a number of
Okay.
them. Like, so it's not like they're like sitting there like
Yeah.
like most of the time they said it was just an archetype.
Okay, but I'm not really surprised that happens. I mean, that we've seen. Obviously, these super teams have been a thing for a while now, and at this point it's part of the game. I mean, there's so much technology involved now, and basically everybody has a smartphone. So if they do have a spreadsheet type deal like that, anybody could access that in between rounds and whatnot. And I know even people like, I believe Arilax said something about this after the Pro Tour that he won, that like after round one, everybody knows what everybody's playing anyway. Ideally, I wish we lived in a world where this wasn't a thing, because I think it'd be a lot more exciting to be surprised, I guess, or to like not know what everybody's on. But it's just the world we live in now with all the technology. You have pros in the feature matches, and this has kind of been the other side of the argument from some of the pros, where like, okay, well, if we're going to be on camera, if I'm in a feature match round 1, or I guess if it's Pro Tour round 4 or whatever constructed, that puts me at a disadvantage because now everybody knows what I'm playing. I don't necessarily know what the off-camera match people are playing. So, in my opinion, I guess it levels the playing field more than anything. Now, if you're talking about somebody who's not on a super team, I mean, I think they're way disadvantaged. I think being on a team like that, it's obviously a big advantage in the first place, but I think it's just magnified when you also have the scouting added into it, I should say.
I don't have any issue with scouting.
Right.
And when I joined the conversation a little bit, I thought for sure the major point was that, that everyone, all the people who are viewers, are voracious. They want to know, like, hey, what are they on? What are these pros on, right? And because of this, they tend to know, right? So it doesn't surprise me that the pros would also want to, find that information out. I do understand there's definitely a huge or significant bonus to those working on teams, but Pro Tours are not, 2,000 player GPs. A player, even working on their own, does not have to work that hard to know what a lot of the room is playing.
Yeah.
The major comparison that I saw that I really, I thought was correct, was looking at any other sort of professional sport. It's a competitive part of the game. You actually had departments devoted to it. You scout prospects, you scout plays, you scout signs, you scout anything you can to get a competitive edge. And instead of saying like, well, that's unfair to do that, everybody tries to do it better than the other person. And if you manage to make something give an advantage to you for that reason, then one, your opponent has done something wrong, meaning you've tipped too much information, which, granted, in Magic is not really fair. You're just playing a game of Magic. But two, then you have successfully utilized that information, because it's not enough just to know the information. Information by itself is not always an edge. You have to know what to do with it. So I don't see any actual issue with scouting. I do not.
Yeah, I was going to make the parallel of, like, in football, it's like when you see coaches kind of covering their mouth, like with the play sheet, because like they don't want to give away information.
The pitchers of the mound with the current.
yeah, you see that, but then you also see like quarterbacks will be reviewing like photos on the sideline, like maybe if throws an interception, and then like within 2 minutes he's got a printout of like the formation that the defense had. You know what I mean? So like, and the other team's doing the same thing. So I kind of feel like everybody's on an even playing field in that case. Now,
and that's fair.
Now, I will say there are some advantages to people who are not on a super team. So like somebody who's maybe working alone or maybe with a small team that is really unknown. And just from just a personal example, like, so Pro Tour Amsterdam that I played in, which was extended, I was playing a combo deck. I was playing Ad Nauseam Angel's Grace combo. And I had played against Raphael Levy earlier in the tournament. He was playing the White Weenie deck that it was the same deck that Paul Reitzel actually won the tournament with. And I was able to beat him, and he kind of, I believe he showed me his sideboard after, or maybe he was de-sideboarding, and I saw that he had Lapse of Certainty in his deck, and Mana Tithe, which are cards that normally a combo deck against White Weenie's pretty advantaged. But knowing about those cards was definitely good information. Now, a couple rounds later, I played against Gabriel Nassif, and I had known that those guys were on the same team for that. So I kind of figured that Gab was probably on the same deck. So that definitely influenced my, mulliganing decisions, and knowing about those potential sideboard cards. Oh, maybe he has Lapse of Certainty, so maybe I leave these Vendilion Clicks in my deck, just in case, to kind of break that up, so I don't get blown out by a counterspell. So that worked for me because I'm pretty sure they didn't know what I was playing. I'm a nobody, so.
Yeah, you definitely, as an independent, can sort of fall through the cracks, and that's you make good points there. I don't know. I had a really hard time even playing devil's advocate on this one, like seeing the outrage here. Like, people seem to imply that it like hurt the integrity of the game, that people would know what other people were playing, and it's like, I don't. What's the point of testing then? Like, if it hurts the integrity of the game to know what you're playing against, then you should never test a matchup. You should always just be blind decks running into each other, because that would be pure magic, right? Like, how far to the rabbit hole do you take that? Maybe it's upsetting to find this out, to that maybe you had a romantic view of this as Magic, but they're playing for $40,000. You know what I mean? Like to the winner. Like this is
there's a reason why these guys spend they get out there 2 weeks before the Pro Tour starts to test.
This isn't a joke. You know, it's a game. Don't get me wrong. Just like a major sport's a game, right? Mm-hmm. But they're also making millions of dollars to play that game, right? It isn't just like, oh, this is for laughs and yucks and yay. So, and I guarantee every single person who's outraged about that has already done this before too. It's as simple as your buddy saying, oh, hey, I played that guy earlier. He was on this. And if you ever taken that information and kept it in your head and used it, then you're either a terrible cheater or you're just doing what any person playing a competitive game would.
The last PTQ that I won, so I won my first top 8 match pretty quickly. You know what I was doing the rest of the time?
Watching
the other players, see what cards they had in their deck. I mean, this is just something that happens. I mean, it's not cheating. It's not against the rules to do it.
Do you guys think that some of the upsetness, some of the outrage might have come from the idea that these teams were hiring people that weren't queued to do this specifically, or were hiring people to scout for them?
Well, okay. I don't have any problem with that because it's just information that they would have gotten anyway. They might get it slightly quicker by having somebody that's not playing doing it. I mean, Pro Tours are sectioned off, so it's not like anybody can just go in and watch any match. It's kind of like what they do with GP Day 2s as well. So it's not like, they just have somebody going by every table noting what everybody's playing. It's just more eyes, I guess. So, I mean, I don't really have a big problem with it.
I could see that being frustrating, but in my mind, Cedric Phillips was one of the ones who mentioned that he had been approached about working in Vancouver, as a person who would do this. And in my mind, the only thing that would make that shady is if he's using his presence as someone people would want to talk to, right? Oh, hey, you're Cedric Phillips, right? Hey, yeah, what do you want today, right? If that's what they're expecting people to do, then yes, that's shady. If we're talking about some weird pickpocket band of thieves where they're trying to distract a person so the other person can pick up their deck and look through it real quick, aha, yes, okay, good.
These snidely Whiplash-esque characters that are running around the Pro Tour.
They're all hunchbacked with long fingers and hair coming out of their nostrils, just enough rat-like looking to understand that they're villains, right?
You're clearly a bad person. I can tell by your appearance.
You're paying me in cheese, yes? In all seriousness, if that's what you're talking about, if that's what you're picturing in your head, then sure, that could be shady. But that's not what is happening here.
I don't think Cedric would do that either.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not implying that Cedric would do that. I think that's the only way I could construe outrage is if that's what was happening, right?
Yep.
You hire a celebrity lookalike, Johnny Depp. You play Magic? Oh yes. What are you playing today?
Just drop by to see what everybody's playing.
I don't know why the only Johnny Depp impersonation I could do is somewhat drunk.
I mean, that's fine.
Captain Jack Sparrow.
Well, let's be fair. That's probably not too far from the
Captain
truth.
Jack, giant squid. Sorry.
I can't. I can't say that I see this, upsetness, this outrage that's come from this. You're gonna see other people playing Magic around you. If they're your competition, you're probably going to share that information with the people that you tested with, because you tested with them, and you're sort of in this social contract to share information with them at that point in time. So, you're going to want to. That's what you're going to be inclined to do. With us, we do that when we go to tournaments. We talk to each other about what people around us are playing, or if I played against another person, or I saw what that person, that name that you're playing against, I know what they're playing because they were sitting next to me last round. I'm going to share that information with my friends.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and they can't really do anything about it either. I feel like I don't think they can really outlaw it. And then, even if they did somehow do it, then what? I mean, I think what you would see is, I think you would see pros kind of turning down feature matches. You know, if
Yeah.
that was a thing.
Yeah.
You know, they'd be like, oh, well, I don't want to be on camera. And then what? That makes the viewing experience worse for for all the people that want to watch.
Right. Matt Sperling wrote an article today apparently against this, which I thought for sure when I saw like the way it was like the title of it, I was like, oh, this is just a giant troll. But actively said he takes part in this, but he's not a huge fan of it. He thinks it does go against sort of competition, which I found actively surprising. But he did suggest that the only way you could really do anything about this was to be like you have to make an announcement before pairings go up. Like pairings are going up. Please turn off all electronic devices, and then you actually have to make a penalty for like if a judge saw you standing at the pairings board with your phone out or something, you'd get like a warning or something, which seems miserable and also defeats things like the ability to use like Twitter pairings or anything like that.
Yeah,
and I don't see that as even feasible. Like, so now you're gonna try and take actual action against the player for having their personal property out. Like, that's a slippery slope and a hard place for them to really. Like, it's already hard enough for them to, like, give you actual infractions for having your phone out now. All you have to say is, like, I'm waiting out for an emergency phone call. And then, like, what are they going to do? Like, now they have, it's really awkward for them to try and legislate that.
Yeah. Also, there was a lot of people, I don't know if anyone prominent, were talking about making deck lists public information after, the first round of Constructed.
Making them all.
Correct.
But in that case, then that in my mind that rewards aggro players more than rewards control players because they would have generally more time after a round is done to review that information than others would. Like you can find a place to gripe about any of this, and I think that's the Magic community loves a good witch hunt, and I felt like reading that Reddit thread, I was just like, okay, there's enough straw man arguments here. Like this is rough. You know what I mean? Like, and this became a really big thing. Like,
yeah.
I was surprised at how big this got. Like, Brian Kilby wrote a blog post about it, which means that Wiz is going to have to come in and make policy. Like,
That's true.
They're
That's
going to
true.
have to take action.
The man instead said something, so something must change. But yeah, I was very, very surprised about how big it got.
I was surprised that now it came up. Like, this has been a thing
for years.
Forever.
Yes, correct.
It's just like, why now is it all of a sudden?
Just the outrage. I was just like, wait, you guys didn't think they did this? Like,
yeah.
What? Like, I've never been to a Pro Tour, but I expect this.
Yeah,
like,
I thought this was just an accepted thing. Again, I just want to reiterate, I wish this wasn't a thing because, I think we all have that, romantic idea of Magic about, oh, man, everybody's just going to, brew their own decks and, show up and we'll see what happens. It's like, yeah, that's how it was back in, 1995, but,
Yeah.
The internet wasn't totally a thing.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. Let's go back to 1995 Tournament Magic.
Yeah.
Definitely much better tournament policies then. If scouting is the worst thing you have to worry about right now, I think we've come a long way.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it kind of goes back to the age-old argument of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't think this is broken. I think that,
No, this is the wild, wild west of scouting. Things must be done.
I think that we've had very enjoyable Pro Tours that have happened that we've all had much excitement about. So scouting hasn't negated that. So I don't see a problem with it.
Won't someone think of the children?
Yeah, children.
All right,
Anyway.
I think we made ourselves pretty clear on
Yeah, pretty much.
non-issue.
Yeah, correct.
Verdict.
Yeah, definitely not an issue at this point in time. So let's go ahead and wrap everything up for today. We do have some awesome, GPs over the weekend. So we have GP Sao Paulo and GP Toronto, both are standard, and then SCG Portland, which is also standard. So this seems like the weekend to see where the metagame's at now. Many people have already said that this standard metagame is a quote unquote Brad Nelson format where you play the best deck for that week. But we'll see if there is an archetype that reigns supreme, or if it looks like all the other GPs compared to the SCGs where it's just completely different.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what happens this weekend because 2 weeks ago we saw Esper Dragons just be the breakout. Everybody was just like, oh, this is just the best deck in standard, hands down, end of story. Last week we saw people starting to fight back with the Deathmas Raptor lists. We saw a lot of those pop up. So we'll see what happens here. We actually, 3 different standard tournaments. We'll see how different the metagames are, but I'd be interested to see if there's something new that pops up.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we could just be wrong, and then apparently you should all just be playing Mono Blue Dragons. But
So in my mind, GP Sao Paulo is just GPPV, and he's going
GP
to
Edel.
he'll top
yeah,
it.
GPPV/Edel.
He'll top it with Esper Dragons again, and GP Toronto's just got to be GP Hain, right? Like, just come back from Europe and just be like, wow, you guys didn't have to welcome us with more GPs, but we'll take them.
Let's do this.
No, that's probably the Hain one is probably more offensive than the other one because I don't know what part of Canada he's from.
That's true.
So I'm just associating him with Toronto.
That's all right. Canada's a small country. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's not
as close.
He'll be there because he's insane.
True. Fact. That's what he claims to be a lot of the time. Also, to let you guys know, the road to Origins is still on. It's still going. You can still go to the constructed FNMs at Comic Town, pay your money, and win and get a nice open trial win. So you get a buy. Yeah, you get a buy and then entry into the open, the next open that you go to. And that's awesome. And that is
sweet value.
That is through the end of May, correct?
Yes.
Through the end of May.
Up until the weekend of Origins, I believe.
So excited for that. And then they actually have a PPTQ coming up on May 9th, and it will be modern. Now, if you have been catching a drift, there's going to be a lot of modern tournaments happening in the Columbus area for the sheer fact that, you know, obviously the Invitational is going to be half modern, and then the 20K tournament, the actual Open, is also going to be modern. So lots of modern, so come prepared at the PTQ to, you know, play some moderns next Saturday, May 9th.
And Sunday, May 17th,
Is a IQ.
is an IQ that's modern. Baby.
Yeah, so lots of good Magic to come up. So
Hot modern action.
we will hope to see you guys at Comic Town coming soon, and then obviously we'll probably see a lot of you guys at the Invitational. Now, as far as how you can get in contact with us, we have a Twitter. It's at YourEndstep. We also have an email address, which I don't think we say enough, but it's at YourEndstep@gmail.com. So if you have any emails or anything like that you want to talk to us about, that's a great way to communicate with us. We also have a website at YourEndstep.com.
We don't need any medication for sizes or anything like that, so don't send those kind of emails.
we don't need any of that.
Also, I don't think we need any Nigerian princes contacting us.
No, I already took care of that. I already gave them like all my money, so it's fine.
Sweet. All right.
But we'll be getting
That's
it
so
back.
nice of you to help them out.
I just want to hear, like, I want one of those emails to be like Magic themed, like do you need to cast enlarge?
Would you like to become immense?
Has your wife ever wished for Might of the Oaks?
I thought you were going to say Might of Old Crozet. I was like, I don't know if she wants that one.
We also are, on iTunes, so you can subscribe to the podcast on there. Also, Podcast Republic, if you have an Android phone, is a great way to get the podcast. And then MTG Cast, if you want to listen to a whole bunch of other Magic podcasts.
There's a groundswell joke in there somewhere.
Yeah, who knows? Hopefully not mutagenic growth, though. Not that one.
The ooze.
But that is pretty much everything that we have for you for this week, and we'll catch you guys next time. Have a good one. Bye.